This video is brought to you by Slate Black Industries. For grips and accessories, visit slateblackindustries.com.
Hey Josh, I'm laying in me foxhole with me little armor lights. The comrade to the left, and a comrade to the right. Okay, that's enough of. I'm sure that's going to go great in the in Great Britain. I'm sure we're going to get great comments from our friends on that side of the pond.
All right, I'm on at 150. Impact, dead center. Impact. All right, I'm on a 2. Dead center. Dead center.
So in the previous testing, when Josh and I were shooting the original AR-180, the front gets incredibly hot, and as I'm shooting, I'm seeing soot come out of the front already, and I feel the heat billowing out the front. It's just a reminder that Slate Black Industries slate grips are awesome, right? Right, Josh?
That's what it is, Henry.
That's exactly
right.
what it is.
That's what it is. All right, I'm on at 250. Impact, right half. Off the right edge. Dead center.
Okay. I'm having to favor on the left.
Makes sense. We got wind
quarter.
left to right here. We're shooting 55s out of a 10.5-inch gun, right?
It's looking like this.
Yeah. Okay, we are at 300.
Okay, I'm gonna use the second dot on the ACSS on this one.
Okay, left edge.
Yep.
That was an impact on the bottom edge of the plate, right edge.
Okay.
It went right where you held. That was off the right at the shoulder level. Impact.
Okay.
Good elevation on that one. Left of center.
So I'll tell you this, you know how you were talking about on when you were running the EOTech with the aiming dots?
Yes.
ACSS without a magnifier is not nearly as easy to use.
On those
than...
lower
yeah, because the two dots
right?
underneath are kind of bleeding together for me right now.
Yeah.
Even on a prism, and a prism is already way more clear than like an EOTech.
Okay, I'm on a 350.
Okay, we're headed towards uncharted territory right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. You ready?
Yeah, I'm there. Perfect elevation. It was just off the right edge. That one was just off the left edge at the shoulder level. Impact, left edge. Off the right by half a target.
Off the right, okay.
Impact.
Okay.
That's cleared.
So I had to put the 400 meter dot at the base of that one, and the windage was just, I was cocking it way too much on the windage earlier.
Okay, I'm on at 400.
Okay, I'm just gonna lay the dot on the target to see where it goes. Ready?
Impact. Impact.
Okay, I should have just so the previous target, I should have just pointed the dot at the base of it, because I didn't do windage, and it hit, no problem.
Okay, I'm at 450.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna put the dot on top of this one's head. Ready?
Yes. Good elevation. You were off the right by maybe a quarter target, just scraped by it. Impact. Just off the right, quarter target right. Just off the left. That was about a half target right. Good elevation on all this.
Man, that dot is really hard to track.
It was at the head level, about almost a full target to the right. Good windage, just low, just underneath.
Okay.
Impact, that's it.
All right. Yeah, it's I'm straining my eyes quite a bit trying to get the dot lined up.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously it's a 1.5 power optic, so that sort of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Is this the first one where we've shot one of the really low power prisms
It
out?
is.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like it would be easier if it were just a dot and donut, and I was able to reference off. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, 500.
Yeah.
It's to the right.
Yeah, it was. Just off the left edge, lower third of the target from an elevation perspective. Impact.
Of course, I would run dry on the freaking impact.
The impact was on his left shoulder.
Okay.
Just off the right, quarter target right. Just off the right edge. Just short, good windage. Impact.
Oh, all right. So I did expect for this one to take a little bit more time to clear since we're running 55 grain with a low power optic through a 10.5 inch. How was the spotting experience for this, good sir?
I mean, honestly, it was easier than I thought it was going to be.
Oh,
Usually
really?
it's very hard to see, but the 55s out of the 10.5s, because they really don't move the plates once you get beyond like 400-ish.
Yeah.
Again, without sounding hyper shill, the new Razor 18 power binos that we're using are actually let me see the impacts on the targets.
So there's all right. There's a side note here. Josh has been geeking out, and rightfully so, because it's spotting is very very important. But we've been using binos more than the spotting scopes in the last 2 years. And the 18X has been very helpful.
We just just upgraded to the 18X from the 10.
You're gonna make a video on it, yeah?
Yeah.
So there we'll get into that a little later. Talking about the modernized AR-180 though, my initial impression on it when they first rolled out with the first ones, I thought they had some accuracy issues when like during the first gen. Mm-hmm. But the second gen, I think it's really all cleared up. It's still. When I put it on paper, it wasn't like an AR, but it wasn't far off from an AR.
So what are you talking? Like 2.5 inches, 2 inches?
About 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not terrible. But obviously, I don't know if there anyone out there is going to argue with me that 55 grain out of a 10.5 is not necessarily the best thing to shoot 500-yard targets. But we did. We did with a super small, super cool little like foldable package. That when it cools down, I will take this off and just transport this in an MP5 case.
Yeah. One thing that I really want to talk more about, and we can do it at the debrief though, is your thoughts on the ACSS out of the 1.5 power prism. Mm-hmm. Is I know that generally speaking, you really, really like most of the ACSS reticles, mm-hmm. And how they perform on this type of shooting. But on this one, I know even pretty early on in the course, you were saying you're really, really having to like focus very hard on making sure that you had your windage correct and tracking the dots in relation to the target. So I do want to talk more about that.
My eyes were exceedingly strained when I was running a low power prism with a CSS. I don't like how many screws there are on it, but I think that's really getting into the weeds, and maybe we should wait for the actual discussion, the debrief, to really talk about that. Anything else you need to add, Josh? See you guys at the debrief.
Well, hello there. You must have caught us at the battalion field headquarters as we were about to break for lunch. Now, we're trying to not have the MREs. I hear the boys in the field are quite fond of them. I hope you're enjoying the show thus far. Shows like this, they're brought to you by Slate Black Industries. And more importantly, we have the support from the patrons of Patreon and Utreon. Now, that's true. This group of men and women, they support us intellectually, financially, but most importantly, emotionally. So today, I'd like to invite you, come, join us, become one of us. Together, we could plan to conquer the world of firearms technology. But if you cannot, that's all right. We completely understand. We'd be just as happy to hear from you in the comments section below. Well, without further ado, we'll leave you back to it.
The BRN-180. So, like the Irish American who's never been to Ireland, the BRN-180, despite having the AR-180's distinctive looks, right? Some of it is multiple levels removed from the venerable AR-180. One good thing is that the stock no longer feels like it's going to fall off. Kind of marketed as a modernized AR-180. The actual upper is made by Primary Weapon Systems, you know, the PWS people, the piston-driven AR system people. And so when it first came out, it certainly had that going for it. It is an AR alternative with a little bit of a retro throwback. You can see the lower right here looks very much like the old school AR-180 lower. But of course, I opted for the short barreled rifle version. I think it looks really cool. I do not see this as a rifle I would use as a duty rifle. Not saying that I couldn't. It's just, I mean, look at the screws right here. I'm just not a huge fan of screws. You know that. But I think as an AR alternative, I've heard of people throw around names like this is the HK416 we have at home. This is the SBR LT we have at home. Sort of fitting the area of a folding stock short stroke gas piston system rifle. Is a SBR, it has two dual recoil springs too?
Yeah.
So very, very similar to that. And yet it has its fans behind some of these BRN-180s. Now, this is specifically a Gen 2. The Gen 1, some people had...
Henry.
Yeah.
Henry. It's a SBR where the barrel doesn't flex.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And Josh, as a SBR LT owner, can actively say that.
Some self-deprecating humor there. Okay,
Yeah.
Go on.
So I mean, what as an AR enjoyer who also likes a fair amount of AR alternatives, like you've got scars, you've got
I fall victim to like the spending too much for, like, I don't want another AR, so I'm like, I'll just spend more money and get a SCAR or get a SIG, get the spear, right? Like, that is my, I haven't fallen as much as I say that, I haven't bought an HK416 yet. So, there's time for me. There's to be rescued still. But yeah, usually like my price target when I am straying outside of ARs,
my sort of like price and goal, my whys are usually leaning much towards like a really quote unquote revolutionary piston gun, right? Like the real next gen stuff, as opposed to a more crossover retro style gun, which is I think what this is, right? This is like a blend. It seems like this has got just enough of the cool factor, or the new configuration factor, while also maintaining some retro element, which is at least how you have it configured.
Well, I think that's a cool thing. That is kind of the cool thing about it. Like, you think back, we've shot the AR-180 a fair amount.
Didn't love it. I'm trying to remember. It's been a hot minute. Don't think I loved it.
Well, you didn't like it because you were shooting at the short range stuff. But we were pleasantly surprised when we shot at the long range, because it was actually fairly accurate.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like, I think it cleared the course in less than 25. It was like a 23, 24 round clear
I remember.
with ball ammunition.
I remember. Yeah, I remember close range, though. It was not in its element.
Well, it cooked. It got really, really, really hot. And so does this, actually, sharing a similar gas system. This thing cooks quite warm. What you have on top of that, like, if let's say you're an AR-180 owner and you really like it, and you wanted to add a little bit of modern nicety to it, I guess this is sort of what you would land on, with pick rail tops, with M-lock on the front end, one of those SIG stock 1913 interface. Then you could change that. You can use whatever AR grips you want, and because it has the AR-180 style recoil spring, you can fold the stock, and it could be really, really small. It's kind of interesting, right? The AR-180, people, when it first came out, people were saying, if you actually want a quality product, just buy the Colt, just buy the AR-15. The AR-180 is kind of like the thing for the poors. And so,
oh really? It was marketed as like a budgetary option.
Like the whole thing was stamped out of sheet metal, whereas the Colt was milled.
You're talking the AR-180. Okay, I'm with you.
So the AR-180, like initially it was sold as a budget version of the AR-15. Part of it, the reason why the gas system came about, was because Eugene Stoner had sold the IP to Colt to run the internal piston / DI system. So he couldn't use the same system for anything else that he came out with. So then Armalite still wanted to sell, right? He still had good ideas that he wanted to apply. And so he started working on different systems. And that's how the short stroke dual recoil spring system came about, is because Eugene Stoner was trying to experiment with different ways of still using the gas to operate the system reliably. And therefore that version of the short stroke gas system had emerged and given birth to like the G36, HK416, the SCAR, the SBR, and all of those plethora of things. And now also this. If you are an owner who kind of wanted to play in the modern short stroke piston sphere, but you also didn't want to spring the how much is a SIG Spear LT.
Yeah, you didn't want to be me. Go on. Yes.
Yeah, you would be like this and get a BRN-180, and you sort of get similar results. And talking about results, I mean, you've shot this one. It feels like any other short stroke piston system. It feels like a 5.56. So it does the 5.56 things. As you see today at the distance course, using 55 grain ammunition. Now, it's a 10.5-inch barrel, Josh. This is not the long barrel version. I could have used 77s, but I wanted to stick with the budgetary options.
And as it would turn out, a 10.5-inch gun shooting 55s with a 1.5 power optic isn't a sniper rifle, Henry.
But it reached out there and it accomplished the task. Now, I mean, accuracy-wise, it's pretty similar to like any of your military-style 5.56s, to be honest.
So like what? 2.5,
2.3 with ball.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 3 is on like the poor type of ammunition side.
Oh, okay, right. With ball.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
yeah.
like,
yeah.
I would say your 2.5 assessment is pretty spot on. Like some people evidently have been using match ammunition and getting better accuracy than
Oh, I'm
than
sure,
that.
yeah.
But to be honest, like that's all I expect out of something like this, and to have it clear the 500, I'm personally quite happy with it.
I mean, again, anytime that we're pushing stuff like this out to that distance, it is beyond its normal, I would say, performance envelope. My general rule, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but obviously we can shoot them further, like as demonstrated in this episode. But if I've got a 10.5, I'm usually not trying to ever even configure that in such a way where I'm going to be shooting it beyond, say, 300.
Yeah, and so now our friend Ivan Kit Badger, he's actually been an early adopter to the BRN-180. He's actually shot them quite a bit, and the different and in many different configurations as well. And he's telling me that he actually likes, as a little short handy SBR package version that he ran, he actually quite liked that one versus some of the more expensive rifles that he had in his stable. I'll leave you also with this. Their offerings transcend just the 5.56. Like, one of the biggest draws for some guys is that they also offer these in 300 blackout. And so having it in 300 blackout, and the gas system is in supersonic and subsonic mode. Having it in 300 blackout,
It's pretty cool.
being able to fold the stock into a tiny little package, I don't know. I mean, I keep on looking back and wondering, like, should I have gone the 300 blackout route? Like, does that make more sense for me than the 5.5, like 10.5 5.56? I couldn't say right now, because I actually quite like this in the short 5.56 form. But I do know guys like to, when they're trying to make a tiny 300 blackout that takes AR, that feeds from AR mags, instead of using like the Honey Badger that is easily 3 times more expensive than this, they're trying to basically accomplish the same with the BRN-180 using 300 blackout. Look, I don't want to like, I know it sounded like I was calling this like the poor's non-AR. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Go to the comments section and tell us which one I'm not thinking of. But when I look at piston guns that fall into the category with some of the feature sets that we're looking for in something like this, those that we've outlined and gone through here in this session, most of them are really, really expensive guns. Like, the majority of them are very expensive. And so this is relative to that, the cheap version, right?
Right. So how much do you want the piston-driven non-AR is really the question. Because you can get a Colt 6920 for the same price as one of these already all done up. And that conforms to a specification that you could push into military service. It's just the fact that the AR market has become so saturated that the price point for an actual military type rifle has dropped to something that is akin to this, that is proprietarily developed. And it wasn't always like that. Like, the AR used to be the expensive one. What out there that is expensive right now do you think will become cheap in 20 years?
Through development, growth.
Yep.
Interesting one.
My thought is that it's not going to be the firearm itself. It's going to be the optic and the illumination devices.
Well, we will see. Let us know in the comments below. Gang, thanks for hanging out for this one. If you think that Henry should shoot more 10.5-inch guns with 55 grain ammo and 1 power optical systems on the course, be sure to like and subscribe. And also tell him in the comments section below. Punish Henry. Until next time, we'll see you on the range.
This is Gen2, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Gen2, this is 716, Roger, over. 1-6, 091, 1 pack, green, over. This is 716, Recon 1.